This episode is brought to you by Humble Love Magnesium Cream. Great for sleep, stress, and pain. The home is for the people, not the people for the home. In this episode of Bright Hearth, we continue with the fifth installment of a short series entitled A Homemaker's Rules for Life, where we're working through some foundational principles in the life of the homemaker. What are we prone to forget in the thick of a busy day, week, or month? What truths does she need to be tethered to in the gales of motherhood, pressures of keeping a home, and the business of a productive life lived before the Lord? For many of you, these won't be brand new ideas. Most of what we need to hear doesn't fall in that category after all. Did I snap at my kids because I just didn't know I should have? Was she disrespectful to her husband because nobody ever told her that she shouldn't be? Of course not. We all need to be reminded of these things from time to time. And so the fifth rule goes like this: the home is for the people, not the people for the home. This turn of phrase is inspired by something the Lord Jesus did in Mark 2:23 through 3:6, where we read this. One Sabbath he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees were saying to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry, he and those who were with him? How he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." Again he entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand, and they watched Jesus to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so they might accuse him. And he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come here." And he said to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. And he looked around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. A Lord of the Sabbath, Jesus knew what the Sabbath was actually for: people. God made the Sabbath as a mercy and a gift to his people. The problem in the story is that the hard-hearted Pharisees had forgotten this. They didn't want Jesus' disciples to be fed on the Sabbath. They didn't want this disabled man to be healed. They had set the Sabbath against man, and in doing so found themselves opposing the very Lord of the Sabbath. They deigned to lecture the Lord of the Sabbath on how properly to obey the Sabbath. In our sinfulness, we can do this with any good gift of God, can't we? We can take a great mercy of God, a great kindness, something he made for our good, and turn it into a weapon to cut. The home is such a gift. It is a place which God made for joy and peace and fruitfulness, for rest and love and generosity. He set the woman as keeper of the home, charging her to make it sing, to adorn it with cheerful and fruitful gladness, to make it a place where people were fed and clothed and nurtured and taught and loved well. And what we are tempted to do from time to time is to take that great gift and make it into a joyless prison or a cold museum or even a battlefield. And so in this episode of Bright Hearth, we'll show how this rule of homemaking works out practically, how to make certain that we use this great gift for the sake of God's people, refusing to make it an instrument of pain and death.
Welcome back to Bright Hearth, everybody. Here we are.
Here we are. I love to see how Lexi's going to welcome everybody.
I'm really good at it. It's great.
The thing about Lexi that you have to understand, listeners, is that she does not feel genuine with anything that is like remotely scripted. So like the idea of, Hana Cosmos, Ben and I, we have like
I would die.
A script, and we've written it, it's edited, and there's like a teleprompter, and Lexi would just die. You'd say, "Lexi, you have to record this," and I
wouldn't know how.
She'd just die. It would be preferable. And that's good. We love her because of this, because you know what? You know that you're getting the authentic, unscripted Lexi anytime I haven't forced her to read a cold open.
Yes.
So welcome back to Bright Hearth, babe.
Welcome.
Who else do we have here with us in the Bright Hearth studio today?
Penelope.
Little Penelope.
Hi.
Hello, fish.
She's not sure if she wants to be here or not.
She's not super 100% sure. We might hear some coos, some little breaths. She is having her dinner, so she's pretty pleased at the moment, at least. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the fifth installment here in this short series that we've been doing. I do want to say thank you to everybody who has been gracious enough to send us a message send us a text button there on the podcast description, or YouTube comments, or we've just gotten a lot of feedback that this has been a helpful series, and that is encouraging. So sometimes, you make a podcast, you throw it out into the ether, and you hope that it was useful to somebody. So that has been encouraging to hear, and we do hope that it serves you. This is one of those series that when we talked about doing it, Lexy said, I have this idea for the series, and we started talking about it, and I thought this is one that I think people could go back to, or that you could point people to and say, here's some good ground rules, just foundation for life in the home. Babe, have you heard any feedback on your book yet?
I did find somebody today that said they read the book and reviewed it, so you don't have to.
Really? So they really loved it.
They loved it. And
Really?
I'm pretty sure based on her feed, I'm just kidding, she was probably a feminist and hated it. But
Wow.
the link she put to the review didn't work, so
you actually don't know what she said.
I don't know.
Oh, the ultimate cell phone.
It's been cool though to it's helped in the specific ways I hoped it would help people.
I know you've even had conversations with like ladies in the church,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
that have read it.
That's what I mean. It's really meaningful to like have my friends come and say very specific things that I'm like, that's a direct answer to prayer. I hoped it would help in that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's been cool.
I've seen quite a few, posts all over the place. Wow, Penelope, that was quite the snort. All sorts of places: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have so many of the feminists blocked and muted that I actually haven't seen many of them because I ignore them into oblivion. I go on Lexy's profile all the time and just block people for like several minutes at a time, and then reset and do it again the next day to try and spare you from this as well. But lots of good feedback. We have been very encouraged by that as well. You can grab a copy if you haven't already at newchristendompress.com/wisdom. And those are premium hardcover edition. They're shipping now. I will say that, it's always a struggle to figure out how many books to order when we publish a new book, because we're a small publishing house, and it's a significant expense every time that's why pre-orders are so helpful. To order a big pile of books, like thousands of books, in faith that someone will care and will want to read this book. But I will say that we have far fewer books left from this first run than I thought we would within just a few weeks of it coming out. So you might want to grab one, because there is a chance that we're going to have to reprint it like sooner rather than later. And that can take a few months.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes. So we always try to stay ahead of it to keep it in stock. Yeah. But definitely pick one up if you haven't already. I will say, I think it's a great book to go through in groups. And it's so practical that I think that if you read a chapter and discussed it in a small group of ladies, it would be fruitful and could bless you or your church. So thanks to everybody who's picked it up. Let's jump into this episode with this fifth rule. And we're talking about one, like we say in the intro, that you've probably heard before. This is probably not a new concept, but it is just one of these foundational concepts to homemaking specifically. But it's a really important principle to keep in mind whenever you have been given charge over some kind of system or business or church or family or whatever. It's so easy to lose this one. This is actually a subset of the rule we talked about last week or in the last episode, about not boiling a kid in its mother's milk, not taking something that's supposed to be an instrument of life and making it an instrument of death. So the home is for the people, not the people for the home. So Lexy, I wanted to ask you a personal question first. If it's okay with you to get personal, are you comfortable sharing personal things with me?
Yes, babe.
Okay.
Go for it.
Just forget about all the Bright Hearth listeners for a second here, but if you're like us, you're intentional with how you care for your family, what they eat, read, even how they rest. But most people don't realize chronic magnesium deficiency is common. That's why we use Humble Love's Magnesium Cream. Made by a husband and wife team, it's crafted with real, nourishing ingredients. No synthetics ever. Safe for the whole family, gentle for kids, and strong enough to bring deep relief. Make it part of your daily routine by visiting thehumblelifestore.com. That's thehumblelifestore.com. And use code NCP15, that's all caps NCP15, for 15% off your first jar. When you have a busy house, the immediate demands of activities, events, and never-ending to-do lists can overshadow critical long-term decisions. Life insurance, financial planning, education savings, and retirement are continually backburnered. Joe Garrissey and his team from Backwards Planning Financial will help you maximize financial tools, management, and strategies so you can focus on your home and have confidence for your financial future. Visit backwardsplanningfinancial.com. That is backwardsplanningfinancial.com, or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to develop a plan for the future. Hey there, friends. Let me tell you about Gray Toad Tallow. They're a family-owned small business passionate about creating skincare products that nourish your skin with pure, wholesome ingredients. For centuries, tallow has been valued for its moisturizing and healing properties, and Gray Toad Tallow is dedicated to sharing these benefits with your family. They strive to keep their products affordable and accessible, aiming to be a blessing to you and your family. Visit graytoadtallow.com to learn more and try a balm sample pack. And don't forget to use code BRIGHT15, that's all caps, BRIGHT15, for 15% off your order. Thanks for supporting this great small business. Look, Bright Hearth listeners, my lawyers have told me that I'm not allowed to guarantee that using Indigo Sundry Soap Company products will make you more attractive, but I am guaranteeing that that is true. If you're looking for premium handmade soaps without the seed oils or other nasty hormone disruptors, then you need to check out our partners at Indigo Sundry Soap Company. You can find them at indigosundrysoap.com. And hey, if you use code Bright Hearth, all caps Bright Hearth, you get 10% off your order. So check it out and subscribe to one of their regular deliveries today. Have you found what areas in this concept have you found particularly difficult? Have you ever been convicted that you had missed on this rule, or like had a season of life where this was hard to remember, or where you really had to like dig in and say, the home is for the people, the home is for the, like remind yourself of this rule a lot?
Every winter.
Every winter? Oh, okay. Wow. Explain.
No. Yeah, wintertime, it's always trickier for me, I feel like, for this, just because noise levels.
Yeah.
I think probably when I had 3 kids is when this really started having to sink in and be like, okay, this is like a different category of parenting.
Yeah.
Where I don't have enough energy or hands to actually keep picking up after people all day, even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's okay, like, if at the end of the day, everything is not squared away, because the point was still accomplished, even if it's not always set 100% back to rights. Yeah. And I think that's actually when I first heard this concept. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm pretty, I don't know, maybe I'm not. I feel like I'm pretty correctable in the sense of, if I know something is wrong and I hear a reasonable like solution, I can pretty much be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then start thinking about it and implementing it. So that's kind of what this was for me in that period of time. I mean, with every kid, it's a new set of, I don't know, you always tell me that I have to lower my standards in order to increase the right standards. And this principle helps me in that way of like, okay, that's the whole point. I mean, even, you could walk around the house and look at a dinged side of the wall and be like, yep, well, that was for the people.
That wall existed to be dinged by people.
But then you like have the other end of the spectrum where the house is also for the people in the sense of it's for their training and their sanctification. So you have to also learn how to be human here, which might mean learning how to clean walls efficiently. It's not, that doesn't mean that children run the show, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Friends, I don't know if you could hear what just happened, but we are going to be changing a diaper really quickly. Back with you soon. Okay, well, we're back from that short intermission. I know because of editing, it was almost instant to you, but that was one of the most spectacular bowel movements I have ever heard from a tiny person. Congratulations on your accomplishment there, Penny. So You just touched on something I actually had far later in my notes, but I think let's pick it up here. It's the idea that it's possible to take this principle and extend it too far and justify like slovenliness and a general lack of concern for the actual cleanliness and order of the home. Do you agree with that, first of all? And
yes.
What do you mean because you're almost warning, like, don't think we mean by this principle, nothing matters.
Yeah.
The home is for the people.
Well, yes.
Throw mud on the walls.
I think it's always vacillating, but I had to almost like veer the other way once we had 5 children who used the toilet.
Wow.
Was when I realized, okay, I have to get more serious in a way that doesn't come naturally to me to clean, to keep things clean. Because there are a lot of them around here. I do want them to feel free to be creative, whatever, you know. But at the same time, I want them to grow up actually believing that it matters if your toilet is clean or not.
Yeah, the home is for the people doesn't just mean it doesn't ever matter what happens in your home. It doesn't matter if there's any order. Chaos is totally fine because the home is for the people. I think about it's similar to the proverb about the barn being clean where there's no oxen, but the harvest is brought in on the increase of the ox. But a good farmer takes care of his stables.
Yeah.
He cleans them out. A homemaker, I mean, and all homemakers know this. It would be about 2 days of like the attitude of, well, nothing matters, before basically the home no longer could be for the people.
No, because it's not functioning. I think that's for me, even in seasons of postpartum, I always ask myself, like, what is the least amount of reasonable work that I can do to still keep the home functioning? That doesn't mean it's like all organized, that it even looks pretty most of the time, but my goal is always functionality on a basic level. So that's where, because it is for the people, that means it has to function for the people. Yeah.
So it's almost like you're saying that there's a balance between the practical tasks of keeping a home with the heart of hospitality to your children, husband, as well as any guests that might come into your home, where you're generally needing to strike a compromise between, there is such thing as a perfectly clean home where it's like, there is not a speck of dust. Everything is in order. There's, no book on the shelf is out of line. In fact, there's a Dewey Decimal System. Like all of the pantry's perfect. The fridge has been cleaned 10 seconds ago. That's one side of the spectrum. And then on the other, you have this like total chaos and total disorder because it's just, I don't care about that. I just care about the people. But the reality is people need both. And so you have to strike a compromise. I like the way you put it, that you're thinking first, like what is, and this is different from home to home, season to season, number of kids, all of that. What is the minimum viable amount of cleanliness and order that must exist to basically serve the people, and figuring out that as a minimum. And then in some seasons you might be able to exceed it, but you need to know that floor so that when you're in a hard season, you can go, okay, I'm going to go all the way down to that floor, but not below it. Like I'm going to hit that level and I know what that is, but I'm not going to sink down into it where there's dirty diapers, in the refrigerator. But we did know a family that the dad hated the smell of diapers so much that he kept us, even like in the outside garbage, that he like bought a freezer for the garage where he would put them.
I don't remember this.
And he'd freeze them so they didn't smell, and then throw them away on garbage day, which I thought was hilarious.
Wow.
I think that's a good practical tip right there. Just right off the bat here, figuring out the floor, what's the minimum viable amount of cleaning in order that needs to exist, so that sometimes you can be above it and do more than that, but you really know like where the line is, even where to ask for help. But how do you think you get on the same page about that with, say, your husband?
That's a good question. I think you need to just ask him what matters to him, because you might be obsessing over the pantry being disorganized, because it does affect the functionality of your job. So it might be something that you are spending a lot of time hyper obsessing about, and he might have to tell you, hey, sweetie, let it go for a little bit. Please make sure the toilet is scrubbed once a week. Or I would really appreciate some socks in my drawer. Who cares if that's labeled or not? So I think that would, because you can see like your job only sometimes, which it's not bad. We need to be able to do that. But in those seasons, you have to remember your job is also managing the household. So it's overseeing the needs of the people in the household.
Yes.
So if you can let some of your pet projects go for a little while in order to make sure all the needs are being met, your husband probably can help you see that a little bit better.
Totally.
Or even just take some of the false guilt away of like, you're really good at helping me with that because I always want to get all the things done all the time. And it's not how it's supposed to be. So
it's literally not possible.
No, it's
without significant household help. Like you tweeted recently, and I think some people misunderstood it. Some people genuinely just hate us and intentionally misunderstand anything we say. But you've talked about like not overwhelming your husband with to-do lists. You've talked about not fussing when it's a hard season. And some people, conclude wrongly that you mean asking for help is bad, that every household should be maintained at the level where it's as if you have 3 household servants and involved grandparents from both sides of the family.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you just as a listener and a reader of a book or of tweets or things like that, you have to take the principle and adapt it to your situation and know that every household really has its own shape and load and amount of help. You might be so blessed that you have 2 sets of grandparents and your husband hires cleaning help for you twice a month. And praise God for that. I'm thankful if that's your situation. And then probably more listeners are in the situation where maybe they're far from family help, or grandparents are not engaged and not willing to help. And there's no money in the budget to say, we're going to hire out some of this or that.
Yeah.
And for you, I think the encouragement is, it's not like we're telling you magically be in a different situation than you are.
No.
What we're telling you is identify for your household, what is that floor of clean order, of health, for the people. Organize your attitude first. Start with contentment with what the Lord has given you, not getting bitter, not fussing, and then do your best there. Ask for help as you need. And the Lord smiles on a homemaker that does that diligently, even if her home ends up being messier than the home where they have 2 sets of grandparents.
Yeah.
And there's cleaning help twice a month or once a week or whatever it is. I wanted to make that note because I do think, I know most of you get it, and you read us charitably, and you understand that we're not trying to crush somebody who's in a harder situation than the ideal.
I've known people that this can be hard because, they'll invite you over to their very dirty house, all in the name of being authentic. And it's kind of like we also need to be poked in the eye and be reminded, like, but we are creatures, and creatures actually do like clean places.
Yeah. So there's the ditch on the one side of the road for sure. Well, so let's talk. We've kind of actually rushed ahead a little bit, which is good. I think it's very practical. I want to establish some baselines here. And one of the things that we need to figure out first in a principle like this is just what the home actually is for, what the purpose of the home is for from the beginning. Because getting this rule wrong is a category of getting that question wrong. You're actually misunderstanding. For example, if you think that your home exists, and I'm going to make a caricature, but if you think that your home exists to be a museum of Chip and Joanna Gaines level Instagram ability, then you will, of course, if success looks like that, the very last thing that you would allow in such a situation is a child.
Yeah.
Like they are extremely ungood, not good at maintaining such an atmosphere. So you'd keep them out as much as possible. And if for whatever reason they ever got in, you'd be following them around, shushing and whacking and, correcting and
boring
nagging
them to death.
And they're like, I guess this is a place where I'm not allowed to touch anything. Why am I even here? What's the purpose?
Exactly.
So that would be an example of getting the home wrong. Let's talk about what the home actually, I'm thinking about the actual house itself. Like, what is it for? Let's just talk about that. Very practically, as a homemaker, what things are you trying to accomplish with the physical object that is a house, a place where people reside.
Yeah. You helped me think through this a long time ago when we used the book Organized Simplicity to write like family mission statements and stuff. And I remember you telling me, because at that point, I think our second had been born and we lived in a very small house that was like less than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And to us, sleep matters. So each child had their own room and our bedroom was the living room. So that seems like forever ago.
I wrote a song about this. It's going to be on the next album.
But it was very like, because it was so small, because we had multiple kids there, I did have to really think hard about keeping it organized and function, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember you telling me, the point of our family was to raise joyful, happy, repentant Christians. Mm-hmm. And that was like all that I needed to hear, that again, everything didn't need to be perfect when Dad walked through the door at night. But in thinking about what the home is as an atmosphere, it is an atmosphere. It should be an atmosphere. You should be thinking of it that way. What is the feel? What is the sound? What is the smell? What is my home feel like?
Ooh,
and are my kids able to cultivate like Christian virtue here?
Yeah.
Are they fighting a lot? Are we talking about that? Are we talking about the tone of voices we have? So it's a place to like accomplish moral teaching. I guess I think of it in terms of like the heart, the head, and the spirit.
Yeah.
Like I want them to feel cozy and welcome, the heart, like that sort of a thing. I want them to have space for brain things, for lots of books, for Ari's weird science projects, for Daphne's flower arrangements that never end, ever. So there's that aspect of it. Like I have to have space for them to do that. And there's 7 of them. So that's like 7 different sets of hobbies, if you will. And then again, spiritually, just like, this is the place where we learn to serve one another. This is a place where hospitality takes place. This is a place where people are sick, and our family is a shelter. That's from What is a Family by Edith Schaefer. Sorry. That like the family should be a shelter in a storm, spiritually and physically. So spiritually, that means if we're in a hard season as a family, is it a place of rest and comfort? If we're in a very, very busy season, is it restful and tidy enough that they can come home and truly feel rejuvenated to go back out again for their work? So those are all the different questions and categories I'm thinking through when I'm trying to figure out what to let go of at home and what to actually make a priority in different seasons.
Yeah. I mean, when you think everything you just listed, I like that, thinking of it as the different aspects of how a person experiences home.
Yes.
Honestly, everyone should go listen to Stephen Wolf's talk at the New Christian and Press conference from this year. It's on the New Christian and Press YouTube channel. It's on home.
Yeah.
And he talked about home as a place of complacent delight. It's adorned by the activity of the generations. But what I loved about it is it was all about how people experience, how people make a home, but then how the people experience the home as a home.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about it that way, you start to think of like, that's what a home is. And so there's certain conditions that need to exist for that to happen harmoniously. But then there are also things that if you get that wrong, you will completely miss. Like, for example, the home is not a film studio. Yeah. If you make your home a film studio, where the goal of your home, like in your mind, one of the most important things is for when you shoot Instagram videos, for it to look beautiful. For a photography studio, then you would completely miss on treating the people in your home properly. Because instead of making it for them, it's actually all of a sudden for the audience that is going to consume this product that you're making. Whether I'm not even saying if you're monetized this somehow, but just if the currency is attention and likes and social media, then you will care so much about this faceless audience that you will mistreat the people that are right in front of you because they're ruining the shot. And the thing is, like, if you were making a Hollywood film, you would be perfectly within your rights to tell some random kid that was running through the scene,
Please
hey,
stop
you need to go away. Like, this is not the place for you. But your home is the place for them. So there's this, we really have to think clearly that we're getting right what the home is and it's for first. And then some of the time a home can do other things too. Outside of that center, a home can definitely adapt to hospitality. A home can definitely be a place where you put a lot of work in on some special time. There's going to be a wedding in the family and you got a lot of people over and it's like you're going to spruce up the garden a bunch and you're going to put tons of work into tidying and you are going to tell the kids like, hey, you got to keep your rooms real tidy this week because, Uncle so-and-so is going to be staying there in your room this week. Of course, there are seasons like that. But we have to start by getting the center right, that the home is a shelter, it's a nursery, it's a schoolroom. The home is a place of rest, it's a place of peace, it's a place of discipline. It's a place where people learn how to be human beings. They learn how to love other people that are hard, like their siblings. They learn what marriage is. They're learning all these foundational, fundamental things. And we need to make sure that as mothers and fathers, that we're actually showing them all of that first instead of just telling them. But then the example they get day after day is like, nobody actually loves anybody else in this home.
Yeah.
In fact, the kids are sacrificial goats and the home is an altar where they're sacrificed. So I think that's really good and foundational to think, what is the actual purpose of the home? Hospitality, fun, fruitfulness.
Yeah.
Covenant. Let me ask some practical question here. So how can a wife, because we're talking primarily about the homemaker, how can a wife make sure that the home is for her husband? What are some pitfalls here and practical ways that the wife could, because this is a pitfall, I think. A lot of homemakers get the kids part.
Yeah.
But actually then the husband is treated like an invader in the space. And he's like, wait, is this my house or not? Like, oh, that's for this recipe, that don't eat that. Don't sit there. Don't. And he's like, do I live here or not?
This is why I think the man cave exists.
Yeah. Like the study is a thing.
Yeah.
I refuse to say man cave. Call it the study because it feels much cooler.
I think I see it a lot with food and diet and like anxiety surrounding that stuff. Because this should be the one place where he's not facing any judgment. The one place where he gets to call the shots in his life.
Yeah.
So if he wants to order pizza one night instead of your vegan dinner or whatever, so be it. So that comes to mind immediately.
Yeah, food is a big part of the home.
I don't know. What else do you have in mind? I don't feel like this is a super specific temptation that I have. So
yeah, I think you're too good at this to think about it.
Yeah, I don't
creatively, because you haven't come up with a bunch of creative ways to make me feel. I don't feel this way.
I want
like
you to
for
be
the
with
record,
me 24/7.
it's true. It is.
So
it is
please
so true.
be with me.
It's so funny that whenever you say something on Twitter or whatever, people assume that you're subtweeting me.
Yes.
If you're like, ladies, don't give your husband a to-do list every single night he walks home. They think that like that's Lexi's cry for help, that I'm like refusing to hang the curtain
Really,
rod
because
or
I want to
something.
hang out with you all the time.
It's not that, guys. Let me think about this out loud a little bit, because I do think this is a big temptation for some ladies.
Okay, yeah. I guess you could, when I did see you as a source of entertainment, when I was first a mother, because I wasn't used to being alone so much, let alone alone with a person that didn't talk. When you came home, I had a really hard time if you wanted to rest. I was like, we got to go out to the city. We got to go out to dinner. We got to go see so-and-so. We got to do this, do that, because I was looking at you as like, finally my out.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. It was a selfish view of what our marriage and our family was for, is because in my mind, it was like for my entertainment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be grumpy if you just want to hang out on a Saturday.
Yes. And not get out of the home.
Because for me, I'm home all week. And you're really good about this. I feel like you're really good at taking me places when I want to. So you're not bad at this.
Usually you say no more often than yes. If I say like, do you want to go?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I like our home. I like being home.
But that's for different reasons now, because I'm like never caught up. I feel like, but when I was really bored and had nothing else to do, I didn't understand. I wasn't thinking like, he's been out working all week. Maybe he actually wants to like hang out at home.
I love being home.
So
yeah, that's a good one.
That one was hard for me to be like, okay, how can I think through making Saturdays special for me at home then?
Yeah.
And restful for him. And, another one, I'm listening to Bleak House, so this sticks out to me right now though, is like women who are using their home for ministry 24/7.
Yes, that's actually a really good one.
Because that was part of it for me. And part of it was also like changing our views on women's ministry was like, you had to tell me, no, you cannot host another book study in our house. And that was a while ago, but you were just like
10 years ago.
This is actually for our family, and our family is big enough now that it no longer makes sense for you to do that on a regular basis. And I was like, what? How dare you?
Yes, there is a very, and so, like, again, your house might have different capacities than ours. You might be in a different season where your husband is genuinely good with it. You both love it. You're both extroverted and you're like, yeah, twice a week we host stuff at our house. Great. I'm glad for you. Totally feel free to do that. We're actually talking about one part of this is knowing your husband, your season.
Yes.
And what makes him feel welcome at home. Don't just try to woodenly apply exactly how our home works onto your home.
And with this specifically, I knew it wasn't a hospitality thing. It was, maybe you could correct me if I'm completely off here, but it was just like not a helpful expectation for you to take over childcare 100%.
Yeah,
2 or 3 times a week in the evening. That's what it was more of like, this isn't going to work. We have, and I think that was around probably 3 or 4 kids that you said that. Like, actually you need to be home helping me.
It was a capacity issue where even you being out of the home, not even things in our home.
Yeah.
Like you going to do different church things became, I actually had to, I don't know if I told you this or if we just figured it out organically. Maybe you can remind me. I basically had to like clear up the order because I'm a minister and I need my wife to help free me to go do the ministry that needs to happen in the church often. And the way she does that is by cheerfully managing our house, keeping our children. So for example, in this season of life, I lead psalm sings on Tuesday evenings, three basically all Tuesdays, but the last Tuesday of the month in our church. I function like the music minister in our church in addition to some of my other roles. Lexi does this very well. If there's a season where she can't come to psalm sing because the little new baby or just like kids are wild, and she frees me up to go do that, even if she can't be there every time. And it's really easy in a church, like for her, it would be easy for Lexi because she's helpful to other women. And there are lots of places she could go and be helpful, where it would be like 4 times a month or, one night a week, where the expectation begins to be that Lexi will go out and do all this stuff. And then I'm going to be home and take care of everything and take care of everybody. And it can be an inversion where actually like Lexi's job is to be my helper. And is that what you're getting at? Because I do think I remember us figuring that out.
Maybe it was more that way. Maybe I thought of it more as like, which this just made more sense to me of like, it isn't his job to play babysitter alone every night. Like we don't switch. I don't punch into ministry at 5 o'clock when he punches out.
Exactly.
Is more of what I was thinking.
And most of the time I'm home. It's not ministry that I'm going to do. It's just like, we need to be home and together.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not a changing of the guards.
Yeah. Which
totally.
I think we've always been pretty good at that, but there was a season there where I do enjoy doing that stuff. I do enjoy helping ladies learn how to read books and helping them get more organized in the home and teaching them. I started the craft nights several years ago now at this point. And I enjoy that because it really matters to me. And I feel like it's valuable in other homes as well. But you did word it that way. Whereas I had to be like, it's okay to stay behind with the pots.
Yeah.
what is that verse? Isn't it in 1 Samuel?
Stay behind with the baggage.
Yeah, the baggage. Oh, okay, suitcases is what I was thinking.
Well, the army went out. Some people's, like when the army went out, some of the men actually stayed behind and guarded the camp, because if they all went, then someone could just come and raid their camp. And there was this question of the spoil at one point, where the men who went out and fought the battle, they were like, why should these guys get some of the spoil and participate in that? And the ruling was, of course they should get some of the spoil. Yeah. You couldn't have done what you did if they hadn't done what they did. Yeah. And that's the principle for the home, is that the husband is to establish the mission for the home, not reinventing it, but discovering the mission for the home that the Lord has given his home. His wife is given to help him accomplish that mission, and together they accomplish it. He often goes out and has a lot of like more outside, and she has more inside facing stuff in the home. But they share equally in the fruit of their home's mission. So for us, that means that at whatever ministry the Lord gives me at our church, whatever sermons are preached and people, are helped by, or whatever counseling is given, my wife shares in the credit and the honor and ought to share in the fruit of that. And there are many ways that this happens, but one of them is that the Lord sees it that way. Like a homemaker should think, the Lord looks at me and he doesn't think like, wow, her husband did so much and she did this separate thing totally. I think the Lord looks at the household as this covenant community, and the fruit is the fruit of the household. Yeah. Not just these little individual atoms floating around.
Yeah. And I think too, I remember I agreed to help with the Titus 2 at the school before I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was okay. Like the Lord sovereignly did that and it was fine. But it definitely challenged, I don't even have the time with my 6 kids being pregnant with a 7th to get to the vocational training I want to for my daughter.
Yeah.
Is this a right and proper order and use of my household resources or is it disordered? And I don't think it was disordered. I don't think I was in sin to do that or anything, but it did take, once, school was out for the summer, you better believe I got really serious about vocational training with my own daughter, because if I had the time to make it a priority for other people's daughters, I had to make it a priority for my daughter. So, and I think that again, this is where it always has to come back to wisdom and not just like hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
Because in some seasons it might make more sense than in other seasons.
Yep. Some seasons your husband might say, I am pleased that the fruit of our household would go out and bless other households in some specific way. Some seasons he might say, I am pleased to have people in our home 2 to 4 times a week and have hospitality that's high octane and our personalities fit it in our season of life. And it's a huge benefit to the church and we enjoy it. And it makes it hard on stuff, but it's like, that's part of our mission for this time. Yeah. And then other times it's like, that's not a part of the mission for this season. That would be a hindrance.
Yeah.
So you need to be light on your feet. And I think ladies do need to be asking their husbands these things.
Ask your husband first.
Yeah. Like your husband first. What is he seeing about this season? Okay, changing gears a little bit. We talked about making sure that the home is for her husband. I think we've touched on this, but how can a wife make sure that the home is for her children?
I think there needs to be things for children there. Books. Time on the schedule during the day to read the books.
Yeah.
Resources for them to be creative and especially when they're little, I really am a big believer in buffer in the schedule for them to play outside and play in the flowers and play with the bugs and play in the sand and go for walks.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge developmental thing that's going on in the brain that God designed. And so when you overcrowd that out with maybe too many book groups or maybe too much time on the phone with your mom or voxing your friends or whatever else, that's a huge development that you owe your child. And if they're not able to get there because your time is for you and your projects and who you want to talk to, that's an issue.
Yeah, that's really important. I also think that, and I know guys, we harp on this constantly. It's because it's probably the most important thing you can remember. Is that the number one way to make sure that your home is for the people is to make sure that the person managing the home is cheerful? How better to fill your home with bitterness and make it not a place that serves the people. You could have all of the order, all of the cleanliness, all the activities, whatever. But if you are a grouch, or if you are a stress anxiety ball, or if you're constantly freaking out whenever there's a problem, or if you're disciplining in anger all the time, or if there's no small inconvenience that you can't turn into a mega crisis, then of course your home is not going to be a great place for the people. The people are constantly going to be anxious. They're going to be a reflection of you. They're constantly going to be harried. They're going to feel like they need to hide from mom at home. Like they're going to want to get out of the home as quickly as they can when they grow up. There's so much of what we're talking about. The soul of the home is really the homemaker, and the husband and the wife together, basically making a place where, yeah, maybe it's a meager place, not many square feet, and nobody has their own bedroom, or maybe it's a mansion. But in either of those situations, it is better to have a scanty meal with laughter than it is to have a feast with anger. Of course, best of all would be the feast with laughter. But I think that's just one of those principles, like every single rule will work it in somehow to say, organize your attitude, make sure that let all that's done be done in love, including your disciplining and including your cleaning and including your setting food before people. Like kids pick up on this so easily and start to reflect the spirit, I think, of the homemaker. Do you see that too?
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, it's like the Proverbs say, like something about do not become friends with an angry man,
lest you become like him.
Yeah. Or so it's like built into human nature that we kind of start to mimic those people that we're around.
Yep.
And it's very startling, but the thing that should be encouraging is, as quickly as it can go bad, I also see the opposite, where children see you quickly repenting. And
yep.
I can literally not even say a word and make two different facial expressions and just watch a child's facial expressions change before me in a way that I know I'm able to diffuse a situation because I got control of myself first before I opened my mouth.
Yep. 100%. Our kids are like mirrors. They soak up. This is why when we talked about the rule of being a thermostat, not a thermometer, we set the tone for our home. And so if you think about like, what is it about grandma's house growing up that you really loved, or that relative you really hated to visit? So much of it often comes back to the people that were there and how they behaved, how they spoke. Did they love one another? Were they patient and kind? Were they sweet? Or were they angry and quick to quarrel? The Proverbs tell us that in the multitude of counselors, there is victory. Keepwise Partners applies this to your business, building Christendom through your work. Running a small business is tough, but you're not alone. Keepwise Partners provides expert bookkeeping and advisory services with integrity, sharing your values to help meet your goals. And look, we really believe this. We use Keepwise Partners here at New Christendom Press. So visit keepwisepartners.com or call Derrick Taylor at 781-680-8000 for a free consultation. Keepwise Partners, excellence in finance and accounting for your business. Ready to feel like yourself again? Rebecca Belch, founder of Live Oak Integrative Health, is a board-certified functional medicine provider helping women and families achieve lasting generational health. Using advanced testing and personalized care, she uncovers the root causes and builds sustainable plans for every stage of life. And Bright Hearth listeners can get $50 off any of 3 packages. So head to liveoakintegrativehealth.com to schedule your free call and make sure you tell her that Bright Hearth sent you for $50 off one of 3 packages. Wives, you know your husband would fight for your family without hesitation. But every knight needs armor, and in today's world, that means ballistic protection made for the modern defender. Armored Republic makes real armor for real men, law-abiding citizens, fathers, husbands, protectors. Visit armoredrepublic.com. That's armoredrepublic.com, or text JOIN, all caps JOIN, to 88027 and help your husband stand strong.
I want to go back to the point you said about cheerfulness, because Misty in her book simplified organization in the chapter, What is Homemaking? This was so helpful when I was postpartum because I felt like there's nothing I can get to except sitting and nursing a baby.
Yeah.
And like, I just felt like the homemaking aspect wasn't there for a season, and I was okay with that. But she gave the definition of homemaking at the beginning of the chapter. Of homemaking is making a home, particularly a pleasant place in which to live. So she says, if homemaking is making a home, particularly as a pleasant place in which to live, as the dictionary says, then our first duty as homemakers is not to find the perfect schedule for chores, but to be pleasant ourselves.
Oh, that's so
and
good.
I was like, oh,
so good.
I'm still homemaking if all I'm doing is sitting and nursing a baby and smiling at my kids all day.
That's so true.
It was helpful.
You're making more of a home for everybody around you by doing that.
Yes.
And we all know this, than a naggy, harried, anxious woman with a troubled heart who is discontent, going around and setting a beautiful place setting.
And I think you can grow your capacity. I don't want to say like, if you can't smile while doing it, don't do it. But I do think it should be a good barometer to start with low expectations, so where you can be cheerful 100% of the time of the day, and then slowly start asking the Lord, like, okay, maybe could I invite that friend over for tea tomorrow?
Yeah,
if that's
can I add something?
Way too stressful for you, maybe try and iterate differently. Okay, maybe I'm not the, play date person. Maybe I am the dinner with family person though.
Yeah.
That might be somewhere where that really, you can jive there. Your kids help, you can stay cheerful through that. And I feel like that's kind of how you can start figuring out how to grow your capacity, is something like that. Would you agree or would you disagree?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like too easy way out.
It's why the practical advice from the beginning of the episode is really important. You have to figure out what the baseline minimum that really must be done is, because you can't fall below that and say, well, I'm doing it to be cheerful. That would be like somebody at their job saying, boss, I really didn't make any sales call this week, even though I know that's my job, because like I found that I get really anxious and grumbly and start being negative in the office culture if I make sales calls. Well, he's like, your job as a salesman, you have to do that.
Yeah. So
the homemaker has a minimum she must do. And that just is how it is. She must not use it as an excuse to say, I just needed to be cheerful. And I found I'm only cheerful if people feed me grapes and I lay on a couch all day. Well, that would be nice, but that's not reality. But it is good to be able to go back. If you find yourself anxious and harried, talk to your husband, figure out the minimum, go back to it and say, okay, this week our job is we're not going to do any deep cleaning of the floors. We're not going to do any extra stuff. We're going to work this week on cheerfulness. That's our chore.
Oh, that's so good.
And then from there, the next week after that, okay, we've gotten into a habit of cheerfulness. Tuesday, we're going to clean the floors really well. And we're going to be cheerful the whole time.
We're going to play music the whole time. We're going to sing psalms the whole time.
We're going to add in some hospitality that was really hard and we didn't do very good last time and nobody was cheerful. Okay? But we're going to add it back in because we've built the muscle and now we're going to add another muscle to the workout. And it's being okay with going back to that floor, living there for a minute to work on the foundational things and building back up. What people often do is they want to be able to keep it all.
Yes.
And then try to add in this really difficult virtue on top of it. And you're not treating yourself the way that you would treat someone you're in charge of, like your child, or if your child's having a really, 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 really hard time being obedient and they're in hockey practice 6 days a week. I'm sorry, a good parent is going to go, we're done with hockey. No hockey this season. We're working on the foundational thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but getting clear on what is the hockey and what is like dinner on the table, because those are different things. And we have to be honest about which part of the things we want are necessary sometimes and which parts of the list are things I really prefer it if my blinds get cleaned every month, but I'm going to skip this month because it would be better for me to be able to do this other thing really well.
Yeah. I think this can kind of be a challenge too with larger families. Just because things can go south so much faster. It's like exponential chaos, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And I think mom really has to be okay with you are in an extended season of babies.
Yeah.
And so it can feel weird because you have big kids that are going and doing these important big kids things.
Yeah.
that you kind of feel like maybe I should be in a season of more freedom because I have big kids now, but you're still actually, at least I found, I actually need to be home even more because I'm keeping on top of the laundry from all the extra things they're doing. And I'm making sure there's actually enough good food at home when they do get back from those things, that they're starving and they're not constantly hungry. And, you know,
it's even more work.
Yes, it is. It's even more work. And so I've had, like, that's been a different form of growing in.
Yeah.
Well, I probably won't have a typical empty nester type of a season of life, or like the teenagers will, they're still going to be babies. And so I don't know, that's been kind of odd to think through, I guess.
And even as the kids get older, it's I've seen you do this, like kind of soaring a little high, too close to the sun, Icarus, and then going like, whoa, we need to bring it back down with the baby, like being out with the baby, where you go, oh, baby needs to be home tonight. The like for the sake of the baby, some of the time it's like,
that's tricky too. I didn't think about it like that.
We have to make sure that we're actually loving this little person and they're not just along for the ride. No, not always. Like we always say that the kids adapt to what the household needs to do. Mm-hmm. We don't say like, oh, kids' bedtime 7:15, so therefore we're never ever going to be witnessed outside of our house after that. No, like Psalm sings later than that. Lexi goes to it a lot of the time. Kids are out late a couple nights a week. Some of the times with different things. They're flexible, but there's still a standard. And especially for little people, you have to remember that the deviation, the margin for error is a little smaller. So it's okay to keep an 8-year-old out till 9:15 a couple nights in the summer, or, you know, a couple times a month through the summer. They'll be fine, even if bedtime's normally 8:15. But with a little baby, if you keep a little baby out till 9:15 when their bedtime's 7, like a couple times a month, that might take them 4 days to recover from every single time.
Yeah.
They're just like
just can.
You've got to treat the people.
And you want to set them up for success in discipline and not constantly putting a stumbling block before them. And I think it's different for we see this in our home. It's totally different for different dispositions.
100%.
One of our kids.
Go ahead.
They've been great about, I mean, this has definitely been the busiest summer of our life so far. And, but one of the kids in the car yesterday, they were like, Mom, I'm just exhausted. It's been so much fun this summer. There's been family coming and going and birthday parties and parish events and this and that. But I just can't wait to be home when it's cozy in the winter. I haven't asked them or said anything about it, but it was interesting to see. Even they know, like, they're ready for that season of kind of slowing down. And,
the seasonality of life is so important.
And it's okay. Like,
God made
that's
that.
a good thing. It's a good thing to rejoice in that.
Winter, we shrink back a lot. Summer, we party. Like, it's different seasons. Mm-hmm. It's not like a German precision calendar that goes identical all the way through. People aren't automatons.
No.
So the home is for the people, not the people for the home. We don't sacrifice the people on the altar of the home, but we do make sure that the home has order and cleanliness, and it can welcome and serve people. It needs to do what it's made to do. I want to end the episode with a question from a listener, and we just, as a reminder, you can use the send us a text button it's in the podcast description. I don't think it's on the YouTube description, but the podcast description has a little button. You can send us a text. We can't reply to them. We don't even have the function to be able to reply, but we do see them, and I go through them and pick one most episodes. So I think this is a great, relevant question to the topic that we're talking about. And the question is, they say, really appreciate the content you guys put out. How does Lexi balance the tasks that have to happen every day, dishes, cooking, etc., and rest on Sundays in particular? Thank you. So I thought this was a great one related to our topic. Every day, even the Lord's Day, there are certain things that just have to happen. You can't say, I'm not going to change any diapers. It's the Lord's Day. People don't have to eat. It's the Lord's Day. No, they still do. So how do you handle those things? And we've been through different iterations of different ways of doing it, but how do you think through that?
Well, one, we don't run any errands on Sundays. We feel pretty convicted that that's not a time to be out and about. And that alone just helps me stay home. You know, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, I had to come to the conclusion that if I wanted Sundays to actually be more restful for me, even if it's just the afternoon, which sometimes that's all that it is for me. is Saturday had to be a work day most of the time.
Getting ready.
Yeah. And so, and I don't know, maybe that's just because of your line of work, or I don't know, maybe other women have found the same eventually. I'm not sure, but that really, I don't know why that just worked for me. It allowed more rest on Sundays. I've done Sunday cereal for a couple of years now too. So
for breakfast.
Yeah. So I'm not adding extra things to my Saturday necessarily, but I'm working enough to give myself a true blank slate on Sundays instead of wanting to be out playing all day Saturday. So all the extra Saturday work gets pushed to Sunday.
Yeah.
And we do sometimes, I mean, and this is what I was referring to earlier. I kind of have I was telling my friends this a couple weeks ago. I have like a short list of places I like to go, like day trips in the summer, that it's not really summer if we don't make it to those places. And you're very good at taking me to those places on Saturdays, but that's definitely not every Saturday for us because we do need to be home to prep for Sunday. So breakfast, lunch is often, it's either leftovers or it's like snack tray. I'll keep like einkorn crackers and pepperoni and cheese and maybe carrot sticks available for Sunday lunch. And then I do cook a big meal on the Sabbath. To me, it wouldn't feel fun and Sabbathy if I just like popped in a pizza every Sabbath. I mean, it would be nice, and sometimes we do that, but I actually look forward to like a homemade Italian meal and dessert on Sunday.
Ari makes dessert a lot now.
And part of that too is I don't have sugar the rest of the week. So it's a little way for me to be like, okay, this is the Sabbath. This is exciting. I have to cook this. I'm looking forward to cooking it though, because I get a treat.
Just a little treat.
So those are just some things that I've done. I try not to, like, no bathroom cleaning. I rarely, Saturday night, my goal is to have the washer empty and open. There can be stuff drying in the dryer Saturday night, but I don't have something I'm going to need to process on Sunday. I have friends that their husbands kind of have different things. Like one of them, I think the rule is no vacuuming on Sunday.
Yeah.
I have some friends that they do pizza every Sunday, and that's just really a good restful rhythm for them. But that's kind of what I do. I do let myself, though, especially during the school year, I don't need to do it so much in the summer, but come 6 p.m., I do kind of go into like breaking the Sabbath. It's now time to think about packing school lunches mode. And that just really helps me not jump into it too early in the day, but also know, like, I do have this timeline. I can get at least an hour's worth of prep in tonight, but I'm going to enjoy the afternoon with my family. We're going to walk to the park. You know, we might go to a friend's house or have friends over or family over. But yeah, just having, like, keeping it low key and casual if you are doing something like that and not going overboard, you know?
Yeah. So works of necessity and mercy are great, have to be done. But we're not going to go engage in commerce. We're not going to go to a restaurant. We're not going to make other people work unnecessarily, even if they are doing it and we wouldn't want them to. In a Christian nation, there would be Sabbath laws. Like there would be Sundays, things which would close down. People would rest and worship, but people have to eat. It's a work of necessity. People have to have clothes on. People have to, there's always, with little people too, there's always like incidental things along with that. It's just, we're not scheduling our heavy work for other than my job. It's a work of necessity on the Sabbath, the pastor's work, but we would not encourage anybody in the congregation to, like, yeah, do your shifts on Sunday, do these, no, rest and worship. But with joy, with gladness, with, making sure that we're actually having a smile and sharing a good meal together and that sort of thing. But just saying, we're not going to say, wow, I'm going to be grumpy because I am a mom and I still have to make sure people are fed and, like, where's my day of rest and all this stuff. Like, to be honest, when you're in the season of life, in the thick of it, most of the time you're going to be giving your strength to something.
Yeah.
And even worshiping the Lord, like, you're giving your strength to worship. You're coming with the saints. You're giving your strength to worship the Lord. Even on the Lord's Day, that's part of your rest, like coming to worship and doing so with vigor and with zeal and with a true heart. So we need to get out of the mode where we're thinking, like, where's the me time? But even, like, as a husband, there are things because Saturday's so important to Sunday. There are things that I just generally won't do on Sunday or on Saturday, very, very rarely am I going to go out and do something with my friends or something alone on Saturday. Very rarely are we going to even be apart a lot. We try to do things together as a family on Saturdays. I mean, there's been a few things, like we had a Saturday golf tournament church-wide that was early in the morning until like the middle of the day, and then we had a thing together at the park with all the people, and there's stuff like that. But even if my friends are in different seasons of life and they're doing stuff on Saturday just with their male friends, I do those things differently. I do them through the week. I try to do them, like if I play golf, it's going to be early in the morning with guys, and I'm going to even try to align it with a couple of the pastors, and we'll be talking about some important, like we're having a meeting, or we're kind of keeping that rolling.
Your job, it's just different. I mean, every husband and wife have different sets of challenges because of husband's work, but even among the elders, you're just different, where you're the one preaching most Sundays.
Yeah, it's
so
totally
it just
different.
does look different for us. Some Saturdays the sermon's not done, and that's why we're home, is because the sermon's not done.
Yeah, like a lot of nap time on Saturday, I'm at least reviewing my sermon. If not like going, let me add that or tweak that. That's definitely the case. 100% that's the case. But I try to say, like, if you can, you want to think about your whole family schedule the whole week, and a man needs to do this, a wife needs to do this, they need to do it together, and make sure that they are doing things that are important to like community, and men need to have friends, women need to have friends. Like, someone even sent us a question recently. They were like, how do you ever play golf? That kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I say no to people inviting me to play golf in the evenings, and I don't do it on Saturdays, and I don't do it, but I do it this time. And I figured this time for us in our season, we're never worried about like not working enough. We went through at New Christian Press even, and filled out like this last week, Martina McBride, as you might know him from Haunted Cosmos. He's like a big ops guy for us. He was like, okay, all of you guys are going to go through, you're going to fill out exactly how many hours a week you work on any project you do, and then also your church work.
He should have had the wives fill it out on behalf of the husbands,
they could
to be honest.
They could audit it. I think we came in, none of us, like, it's pretty much uniform that we're all working 6 days a week, with sometimes, because Sundays are 7 hours at least.
Yeah.
Conducting worship and that sort of thing. But then it's like, most of us, just quite frankly, have between 60 and 80 hours in the saddle per week. And that's a normal week. And like, it's all great. We enjoy it. This is like, people were made to do meaningful work, as productive households and communities and that sort of thing. It's great. But for us, that means that you don't have to get locked into like justifying resting really well when you do rest, and shutting off when you need to shut off. It's like that's really important as well. So think about it in the Lord's Day, but don't just think about the Lord's Day. Try to think about how this works in your week. I think that's the way to actually figure this out. And when it's clicked for us is when our week is aligned properly, the Monday through Saturday. Then the Lord's Day is easier because we're actually planning for it. We're not getting to it and then going, how are we going to rest?
Yeah.
Well, because we did stuff on Saturday, because Lexy did stuff on Saturday.
Yeah.
And got things ready ahead of time. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Misty again in her book talks about the Sabbath, and just like, I can see it. I can get spun up on, especially if I'm feeling behind on a Sunday, where I can get spun up of like, but I could get through 3 more loads of laundry. I could at least get the bathroom clean before that family comes over tomorrow night. I could start prepping food for the week.
Yeah.
And the Lord calls us to rest, and it's a good thing. And it's actually from that rest that he wants us to keep working.
Yeah.
And it's not actually always about the prep for the Sabbath, because if it was about us being prepared enough to rest, it's based on our works instead of based on our faith that God's actually going to see us through the next week filled with good works for us to accomplish. Yes. Yes. So I've had to really, really, especially in this like newborn season, where I just kind of always feel like there's something I should be doing, just tell myself like, no, I have faith that the Lord will meet me with enough energy tomorrow to get all that done, or enough creativity to figure it out, or he will help me figure out what doesn't need to be done, or we can problem solve Monday morning.
Yeah. But
it's Sunday afternoon. I'm going to hang out with my family, and that's that.
Yep. Well, Penny is pooping again, and so we are going to wrap up this episode of Bright Hearth. Guys, thanks for listening. As always, if you'd like to support the work we do at New Christendom Press and in this podcast in particular, then there's a couple ways you can do that. You can support our show on a monthly basis at patreon.com/Bright Hearth. And we do a little show called In the Kitchen where Lexi will do some very practical, short little episodes, often even just like voice memo in the thick of doing stuff. So it's very much a very practical, down-to-earth, low production kind of thing, but high value. You can jump there. The link's in the description for that.
Low production.
Oh, it's
I at
never
least
mind.
figure out the voice memo app.
It's true. She's figured that out. I want to apologize to Lexi for disparaging her production level. You can also pick up Lexi's new book, Wisdom on Her Tongue, at newchristendompress.com/wisdom. And we really think that's just a great, short, practical book that is going to be helpful to your household. Thanks again for listening. We hope that this little series on rules for homemakers has been helpful to you, and we'll catch you next time on Bright Hearth.